Hello, everyone, and welcome to the HP Podcast, episode number 343. This week with 33% more handsome in your life. Is that the actual math, 33% more? Or like if you add 1 to 2, it doesn't matter. I failed college math. I'm Ben, and with me here to
33. Yeah, something
Yeah,
like
a lot
that.
of threes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, boys. Brandon, Dave.
What's up?
Greetings and
What's
welcome.
Hello.
Good to see you, Ben.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
You didn't have to scream at me, but appreciate it.
Just now or before?
No, well, both.
Okay, sorry.
But thank you. Thank you.
That's a subtle way to say adjust your volume, please.
No, if I wanted to say that, I would just say it.
Okay,
Dave.
fair enough.
Never mind. I'm not going to go where I was going to go. Yes, good to be seen. I'm a little sleepy. I got onto the European time schedule very quickly because I was at Gamescom last week for work. And my flight got in at like 8 a.m. Germany time. And so I got on the plane, went forward in time 6 hours. I slept for like 2 hours on a 7.5 hour plane ride, woke up, realized it was morning. Other people had their windows open, so I opened my window to get the sunlight, and then I stayed awake until like the time I would normally, well, actually a little earlier than normal. I would go to bed that night. That way I could get onto the time schedule. So I was like right on it. Then yesterday when I came home, my first flight was like 8.5 hours. It was fine. And then my second flight was delayed, and it was I probably could have driven home from Toronto faster than the delay ended up being. But anyway, it was fine. So I just stayed up like 20 hours to try to get back into it today. And of course, today I woke up a little later than normal, and I had to work a lot today. So my schedule's a little messed up. My brain does still think it's 6 hours ahead, but maybe not for very long. But the bigger problem is that I'm hungry at weird times. That's the bigger problem. But overall, I'm fine. I may just, slump over during the show. We'll see. But I'm here for now. That's what matters, I guess.
Good, man. So one thing is you're 6 hours ahead right now.
Yep.
So you're 3 in the morning. But from what I understand from Ben, you're still awake at 3 in the morning under normal circumstances.
Yeah, but the entire last like 2 weeks, I was not, even on a different time. Yeah, I was going to bed at like old people times and stuff.
Normal.
Yeah, Dave times. I don't. So I'm often awake till 3 in the morning, but not usually. And I feel terrible when I am. But normally it's between 1 and 2 for me when I'm home. That doesn't mean I go to sleep right away necessarily, but like about 2 is probably the latest I try to go to bed. Sometimes it's later, it just happens. But yeah, I'd like to not do that as much, especially since I get up earlier now than I used to. I actually sleep less now than I used to, but I wake up earlier because I go to bed earlier, if that makes sense. Anyway.
Cool.
But yeah, it was good.
Good, dude.
Tell us about Gamescom. You always wanted to go. You finally went.
Yeah.
Is it everything you hoped and dreamed of?
Well, the first day I was there, I spent a couple days doing other stuff, but then I was there one day and like went and set up my booth. This was on, I guess, Tuesday, the day of opening night live. Went and set up my booth, and during that time, as long as you were in the building, basically if you were an exhibitor or whatever other access, non-public access, but whatever other access had access to the building, you could kind of just go wherever. So I finished setting up my booth, spent 4 or 5 hours doing that, more like 4, and then just kind of ventured around. And I mean, I think everybody knows that Gamescom is gigantic. And I knew it was even bigger than I thought it was going to be. And then it was even bigger than that. Yeah, it's gigantic. The amount of not only space, but people is just unlike anything we've ever been to. Any of the three of us, I'm pretty certain. Like any gaming or not. Like I don't think I've ever been to an event that large before. It's like, I don't know, 12-ish buildings, all interconnected with hallways and stuff. And the building I was in was one of the smaller ones. And it had 2 floors. And each of those floors was multiple times larger than like PAX. So if you imagine that times 2 times 5 or 7, something like that, that's about how big Gamescom is.
Jesus.
And like it gets so crazy in there that at like certain times of the day they block it off so you can only go certain directions. So basically, if you leave the building you're in, you have to go the entire way around the entire premises. It's like a half an hour minimum to get back to where you just were. So you don't leave the building you're in unless you have to, basically, or you're really good at sneaking by security guards. But anyway, so Tuesday I went and saw like as much. I walked for between 2 and 3 straight hours, and maybe from a distance without stopping saw half the things that were there as they were being set up. So it's absolutely insane. And then the rest of the time, I just stood at my booth for between 11 and 13 hours, depending on if I got there or whatever. I mean, maybe I ran to the bathroom for 5 minutes. Went to get something to eat, took a half-hour break once a day, basically. Otherwise, I just stood in one area of one hall and talked to people, sometimes by myself, sometimes through translators, and showed off the games I was there to show off. So I left the booth to go further twice. One, to play a game that was in my same hall that I'll talk about later that I really wanted to play, mostly because I realized I haven't like gone to see anything else and played anything like during the normal show. And then the second time, I saw someone walking around with a Dune Awakening hat, and I needed to have it. So I ventured literally, I don't know, like, let's say the show set up like a square with all the buildings, like, you know, whatever. It was in the furthest one diagonally from me. And so I got out and walked as fast as I could to it, saw the person at the gate, asked them, is there any, I just walked 35 minutes to be here. I've played 120 hours of your game. Can I have a hat? And she was like, yeah, of course. And gave me a hat. And then I got in line and walked all the way back to my booth. So those are the only 2 times I really left my booth, other than just like to quickly run to the restroom or something. So Gamescom's great, but it is not only gigantic in size, but also in the amount of people that are there, which, you know, it's good and bad.
Wow.
Lots of opportunities to see things, but very limited capability, like possibilities. If you get in, it's best, if you go to Gamescom, it's best to like dedicate one day to each hall. You won't see them all, but like there's so much stuff in every hall that you're going to be there a while.
Did you see any famous people?
I saw some, and then like at one point, some streamer apparently that I didn't know. It's like the biggest streamer in Germany, or biggest German streamer, not biggest streamer in Germany, but ran by my booth with like hundreds of people chasing after them. Kind of reminded me of like when you see videos of Speed, I Show Speed, and like people are following, like that's what it was. But I had no idea who the person was. And then one of the translators who were helping me was like, that's so and so, and I was like, and I looked him up. I was like, oh, okay, he's gigantic, but I don't. He streams in German, so I don't watch them. Yeah. The other only interesting interaction I had was on setup day. Someone came up to my booth and was like, do you know where Kate is? Kate was like the person who was organizing our area. And I said, oh yeah, she's down there. You know, I told him where she was, and he needed like a pair of scissors or something. So he went and got the scissors, and then like later that day, or maybe it was even the next day, it all blends together, came back and was like, I have the scissors for Kate, but I don't know where she is again. Have you seen her? And I was like, no, but I actually need the scissors. Like I didn't bring my own scissors. I needed to borrow them from her. And I'll just take them and give them back to her. And he goes, cool. I also need to ask her about something else at our booth. Could you let her know I was looking for her? I was like, yeah, where are you from? And he's like, oh, I'm from Apogee. And I was like, oh, I like know everything you guys have ever done, and I know you don't own it anymore, but I'm like the world's biggest Duke Nukem fan, and like showed him a couple pictures of my collection and everything. He's like, no way. And then some of the other guys who were like with him from Apogee, and some of the guys who were around back when Duke came out, including him, back when Duke 3D came out and everything, walked up. So I got to meet like part of the original development team for one of my favorite franchises without even realizing it at first.
Damn. That's
Cool. Did you keep it together?
No, probably not. No, I was kind of geeking out. But yeah, that was just by happenstance, just because I was in the area where he needed to find someone. So yeah, it was all. Other than that, no. I mean, I probably did see famous people, but famous people to me are different than famous people in Germany, right? So maybe, and didn't realize it. A lot of developers walking around that like I know their games, but I don't necessarily know who they are. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But it was good. It was very exhausting, and I mean, I spent a day with a friend of mine I met through Sea of Thieves in Frankfurt. I spent the day with him in Frankfurt. Didn't meet him in Frankfurt, but saw him, and then saw our buddy Lockmort. Went over to Belgium to visit him for a couple days, and then the rest of the time was just working pretty much. Saw our friend, or my friend at least, Jason from Atari, one of the lead producers there, or the lead producer. I don't know. I don't know his job title. Great guy. Met a lot of the people he knows. Spent some time with him, and got to hang out with the team that's making the new Bubsy game. Which I knew about that game. Like, I knew they were working on it back at PAX because I had dinner with them one night. But of course, I was sworn to secrecy. Even from like, I didn't even tell like my buddies, and I didn't even mention it to like Dustin, who because I didn't want him to accidentally maybe blurt it out on a show. So, all right, I kept it quiet.
Man.
At least. Maybe I might have mentioned it to you guys, but you don't care about Bubsy, so.
Yeah, just Phil.
Just Phil. Phil knew. Our buddy Phil. Phil had like a recent medical scare, and to cheer him up, I told him about it. But it was like very, very recently. I told him about it. So, but yeah, good time. I mean, it's a lot different going to Gamescom when you're working it as when you're there for entertainment. But I imagine being there for entertainment is also very taxing because you're just in a sea of people waiting in lines, et cetera, et cetera. So that's Gamescom from a exhibitor perspective.
That sounds sick, man. Sounds like a lot, though. Like, truly, like, a lot. Even, no matter who you are going there, it just sounds like it would be. Because even something like PAX, with the size of PAX, was a lot. And having something that big seems like on another level altogether.
Yeah, I was at PAX. Dave and I were both at PAX earlier this year, in May, I guess, PAX East. And like, it's big. It's not as big as it used to be, but like, there's a lot to see there. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of people. And it just pales in comparison in every way to Gamescom. And I mean, it's a regional show. Like, it's not meant to be like the World's Fair, right, of video game shows, but it's huge. And it's big for us, especially in the US, who we've got a lot of people here in the US, but they're all spread out really far. And it's in Europe, it's just not like that, obviously. So, yeah. Any other questions? I'm an open book.
What was the favorite, like, food and drink? Did you have anything like exotic?
So the funny thing, Brandon, about here in Western Pennsylvania is that we have so much like Dutch and German influence that I was like, my one friend was like, oh, this is like a quintessential German meal. And I was like, cool. This is basically what I've had at every like church picnic for 30 years in Western Pennsylvania. So
awesome.
Yes and no, like some of the food is better or different, different spices, whatever. But like nothing was like, oh, I've never seen or heard of this before or had it. But it was all, I mean, everything I had was good, but I didn't, I was leaving my hotel by like 7:30 in the morning and not getting back till like 9:30. So there were more than a couple nights where I got the equivalent of Uber Eats, European Uber Eats, to my hotel with just, whatever I could, local food, but like nothing that crazy. And then I ate convention food a couple of the days.
Is it like Das Eats or something like that? What's
Das Eats, yeah. It's actually called. Let me look. I have the app on my phone still, and it's super. Like they don't add on all the fees. Tipping is not really a thing in Europe. It's called Wolt. Wolt.
Uber Eats.
Uber Eats, dude.
Uber.
Edward Walton asks, "Where is the damn hat been?" I'll go grab it here in a second to show it off. It's not anything special. It just says Dune Awakening on it, and I just wanted
I
it.
mean, it's sweet.
Yeah. I had some beers, but nothing like. Again, America has stolen all of the good things from the rest of the world, and by stolen I mean like we're a place where everybody comes, right? So over the years, we've just accumulated. Wow, Dave, don't give me that look.
David, it's fucking Canadian, man.
Over the years, we've just like I was even like trying to shop for like candy or something for my kids. And I'm like, wow, all of this I could literally have at Walmart, which kind of sucks. It's kind of great as someone who lives here that I can just get things, but like it kind of sucks that like it's not like there's a whole more the experience and the lifestyle is different, but the food and drink. I mean, they have some different formulas and recipes for stuff, but by and large, it's not like there's anything here that they have that I can't get if I drive within an hour of myself. So
Yeah.
of course, an hour the European mind can't comprehend driving that far.
Nope.
How was everybody in Germany? Are they like chill? What's the culture like?
Yeah, chill. I'd say.
Super chill.
I mean, you get some eccentric folks, just like you do anywhere, and you have some different cultures coming in that change the vibe a little bit into certain places. But by and large, like most Europeans don't want to bother you or talk or like be seen or heard. They just want to exist without you bothering them, which is something we should all strive to do, in my opinion. Hence why I barely leave my house unless I have to.
That's fair.
Uh,
That's fair.
I know we've discussed this ad nauseum in the past. America just needs to get some trains. You know?
Yeah.
Train system's so great in the EU. Just being able to... It may take you a little while, but most of the trains are pretty quick and clean.
Cheap,
and for the
too.
most part, nobody's bothering you. Relatively cheap, yeah. Yep. So, I don't know. Pretty great. It's really funny because in Germany specifically, I was thinking like, wow, there's not a single thing there's a lot of things they do differently, but there's not a single thing here that I could think of that they do. And I'm like, why do they do that this way? Like everything just kind of makes sense, except for Germans. And I don't know if it's Europeans in general or just Germans have an interesting time with an interesting directions and like signage. They go about things in a very different way, and it doesn't always make sense. Maybe because I'm not from there, but like here, I don't know. I'm just making an example. Let's say you're at a mall, and or better yet, an airport, and there's signs like every 50 to 100 feet saying, all of these things are this way, all of these things are that way, and then like you get to the next sign, and it tells you again in the directions. In Germany, the thing I noticed was like if there's a sign pointing in a direction, you can assume it's in that direction until you see another sign that says it isn't. Unless, of course, they decide that they're going to put up a different sign with different directions. And that means if the thing you're looking for isn't on it, you went too far and you missed the sign redirecting. It just like signages and directions and like flow of crowds. And maybe this is partially just because of Gamescom is very different in a lot of ways. That's the one thing I noticed that I was like, this could be better from my perspective. But everything else, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense why you do it that way. Like,
Did you tell someone? Did you tell someone loudly, but then lead off by telling them you're American?
Yeah, I started every conversation with, "Hello, I'm better than you. Please make
Just
this
so
change."
you know.
Call me daddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. You got it.
That's Mr. Nuclear Missile to you. Okay.
Also, genuinely, it felt like everyone around me was smoking all the time, which I was not. I was not opposed to.
Yeah, that's good.
Vaping's really big.
How are the
young folks?
How are the cigs?
And their life expectancy is somehow 15 years longer than us.
Yes,
so
that is correct.
Explain that.
Yeah.
Microplastics, baby.
How were the what? Would you ask me?
How are the cigs? You had some with Locke, dude. I was so jealous.
Oh,
The
I don't
Belgian
know.
cigs.
I think they were just like Pall Malls or something. I
Oh,
don't think they were
shit.
anything good. Yeah, it wasn't.
Smoking on Salem's or something.
Yeah, it wasn't
Jesus
anything
Christ.
exotic. It wasn't anything exotic. They did have smoking lounges in the airport. I really, really wish I'd gotten to participate in that, but I didn't have any cigarettes to smoke in the airport. So
Damn.
yeah,
Nice thing about those is you don't need cigarettes to smoke in there. You just go sit in there and smoke.
And still get
back.
the same effect. Yeah.
I like
you just
I like stood outside of one and looked at it longingly, and I was like half expect. Every time somebody blew a puff of smoke, it was gone. Like the ventilation must have. And I mean, it would have to be in the airport, right? I would imagine for people to not be mad about it, but it seemed like the ventilation was done well. Like they knew that it has to be, or it's the airport and everybody's gonna be mad. But like it felt like there were more people inside the smoking lounges than outside of it, outside of them.
legendary.
Yeah. Well, this is the HP podcast. We talk about life in Germany and video games from time to time. You could support us if you'd like to on patreon.com/handsomephantom for as little as $1 a month. That's it. That's all you got to do. Just pay $1 and get ad-free early access to the shows on the audio versions. You can catch us live here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. at Ben is Handsome on YouTube or Handsome Phantom on YouTube. You can also join our Discord and hang out. Small knit community hanging out with each other. handsomephantom.com/Discord. I'm starting to feel a little tired, boys, but I'm going to press on. Let's talk about video games, shall we? Dave, I know this one's all you. This one's it's all your jam right here. Polygon reports that after 15 years, Skate returns in September with a free early access launch. Following extensive playtesting, Skate will launch into early access on September 16th for PC via Steam and Epic Games Store, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S. It will launch as a free-to-play with cross-play and cross-progression. First announced in 2020, Skate is the first installment of EA's cult classic skateboarding series in 15 years. The project is being developed by Full Circle, a new studio established for the project. Well, we've gotten lots of little details about the project over years of testing. We now know exactly when we'll be able to see what EA has been working on. The release date arrives alongside a cheeky new trailer that plays out like a David Attenborough narrated nature documentary. We see some people. We don't need to go through the whole trailer. You can watch it for yourself. It's still coming to PS4 and Xbox One alongside current gen consoles and PC. I'm so glad that writers have stopped calling the current gen, the 5-year-old consoles, next gen. I'm just going to say it. All platforms will support crossplay and cross progression. EA previously noted that a mobile version was in the works, but there's no date of it, or there's no mention of it. Dave, I know you're super excited about Skate. You were in one of the playtests recently. You tried to get me in, but it didn't pan out for whatever reason.
Tried twice.
But talk to me about this.
Yeah,
in fairness, I didn't try the second time you sent it because I was like too swamped with other stuff.
That's okay. Yeah, it's this is my birthday that it's coming out into early access. So I love Skate. I was big into Skate 1 and 2, not so much 3. But it's a very nostalgic game for me. I loved the open world nature of the game. I loved the Hall of Meat, I think was a favorite. I don't know if you guys remember that, where hold on, Brandon.
Meat.
So Hall of Meat was where you like tried to wipe out. It was a lot like Burnout's like crash mode, where like you would crash your car and then you take control of the wreck and you try to cause as much damage as possible. So Hall of Meat was similar to that, but with skateboarding. Sorry, side note. That is a fantastic hat, Ben. I love that shade of green.
It's so cool. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Got a little like scuff marks here, you know, like
Swag.
worn. Like if there were a sandstorm or a worm, it would make these marks on it. That's why they're there, of course.
True.
Yeah, so Hall of Meat and the most damage you did to your body, like the higher score you would get. So they have carried that physics, like that personality over into the new game. So I'm excited for that and just kind of skating around. I have been in the playtest since March and I mustn't talk about it, but it's still there. Like I can jump in and play anytime I want, and they've been updating it throughout the playtest. So the visual style changed completely. It was very kind of simple and almost grounded when it first launched, and then they kind of put in what the final product is actually going to look like. And the character skins are kind of Fortnite-ish, which I wasn't crazy about. They're a little bit cartoony, and you can see even in our thumbnail that we use for today's show, like they definitely have gone from a more like, I wouldn't say realistic, but like grounded looking in the original Skate to a little bit more fun cartoony, which is, it's not my ideal, but it's whatever. Because the skating itself feels really, really good, and the city they built, Sandvan, feels really, really good, and it's just fun to skate around. I am not crazy about early access free to play launches because I just feel like they're kind of underwhelming. They lack sort of the excitement of like a big bang day one launch. But I understand why they're doing this, and based on what I've seen to this point, I think the game is going to be in good shape and it's going to evolve. And you know, this is going to be the first time we're going to have a free to play Skate, obviously. Which means that it's probably going to be a heavy microtransaction environment. And, you know, there have been some reports about you can actually already buy stuff in the playtest and spend real life money, which is odd. And normally that's something I would shy away from, but I actually think that those kind of mechanics would fit Skate really well. And if they had sort of cosmetic only, maybe a compelling battle pass system, that it would be fun to kind of jump in, do some Skate dailies, you know, maybe drop a couple bucks on a pack here and there, but just kind of jump in whenever you want and just kind of skate around and have a good time in any way that you feel. So I'm very excited for Skate. It's coming right after Borderlands, which kind of sucks, but again, it's free to play, so I have no reason not to get it. So yeah, this is exciting news for me.
Brandon, you've played some Skate in the past, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, a little bit.
How you feeling about this? What do you think about the free to play? What do you think about the game in general?
No, yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with Dave. I think that this sort of game could go well with a free to play model. I love that there's no barrier to entry. And I think that, you know, hearing from what Dave's saying, the actual mechanical aspects of this game being really solid, I think is paramount to the experience. You know, obviously the city being a good component to it as well, but the art style kind of maybe even being a backseat. I think these kind of games playing well is really the winning factor to this formula. Yeah, I'll be interested to see how all the multiplayer stuff works out, how the monetization is, but I'm happy to see that it's free. There's no reason not to at least try it. So hope it's not too egregious. Or too offensive with the microtransactions, but when something's free to play, I mean, I give it a lot of grace. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely want to check it out. Absolutely. Aside from the Tony Hawks, I mean, we really the Tony Hawk remakes, we really don't have a whole lot going on in this genre of game in the Skate genre generally. So yeah, I'm all about it. It's very nostalgic. These sort of games are very nostalgic for me. I just hope it has a fucking banging soundtrack because I feel like that's pretty important as well.
You know what it's like structurally? It's a lot like Forza Horizon, where
Oh, nice.
if you
Okay.
just want to skate around, you can do that and you can get lost for hours, just like you would drive around in Forza Horizon. But at every turn, there's something to do if you choose to engage with it, but you can always just skate right past it. So
Gotcha.
I think
Okay.
it's up your alley, Brandon, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely want to check this out here in a couple weeks.
I like and don't like that because in Forza Horizon 5, I would like be driving and then all of a sudden I didn't even mean to be and I was in an event. And there's like some woman yelling at me that, you know, you got to be faster than that. So whatever. But yeah, Skate's fun. I don't remember which one it was, but my roommate at one point, right after I was out of college, was playing an old Skate game, and I ended up playing a lot of it with them. But that's about the only. I mean, I think I like rented one of the original Skates a couple times way back in the day. But I did like the Tony Hawk series was my jam, so I never really experimented too far outside of that. But you know what I did play a lot of was Dave Mira's Freestyle BMX. It's
GaaS.
GaaS is a good word for
Remember
it.
the
Very
porn extreme biking game? It was called like Triple X.
I do. You told us about it.
Yeah, so
I
many
bring
people.
this up too much.
So many people have mentioned that to me, including you over the years, but I have no recollection of it, like in the time that it existed.
I didn't play it, but it was
Sure, Dave.
it
Yeah.
came out when I was at an age where when something like that comes out, it's like, there's a video game with boobs in it, and
Yeah.
it's open about it, So
Well, we were the same age, pretty much, Dave, and I don't remember it at all. So,
Dude, BMXXX. Is that what you're talking
their
about?
marketing push in rural Pennsylvania just clearly wasn't good enough. So.
yeah, apparently. Let's move on to the next subject. Hermen Hulst has addressed the Concord failure. Says Sony will take cautious approach to live service games. This is from Twisted Voxel, and it says PlayStation's leadership has spoken out following the cancellation of multiple live service projects, including the high-profile failure of Concord. Hermen Hulst, head of PlayStation Studios, explained in a recent interview that the company has learned hard lessons from the experience and will be more deliberate moving forward. Quote, I don't want teams to always play it safe, but I would like for us, when we fail, to fail early and cheaply, Hulst said, acknowledging the risk involved in ambitious projects. Well, first of all, who wouldn't say that? If we're going to fail, we might as well do it cheaply. Duh, obviously. He went on to explain that the number of live service releases was never the main priority. The number of live service releases is not so important. What's important to me is having a diverse set of player experiences and a set of communities. The executive further elaborated that SIE has since tightened oversight across its studios. We have since put into place much more rigorous and more frequent testing in very many different ways. The advantage of every failure is that people now understand how necessary that oversight is. He also highlighted the company's long-term perspective on IP creation, noting that PlayStation aims to build concepts that can grow into iconic franchises and extend beyond gaming. Concord, a multiplayer hero shooter developed by Firewalk Studios, was canceled in 2024, shortly after launch, despite an initial budget estimated at over $200 million US. Some people would say more. And the game shut down very quickly. That's the gist of it. Brandon, you're my fellow live service bro. Are you concerned about not only PlayStation's push, but everyone's push for live service? And do you believe him when he says that the amount of projects was not a concern because it seems like it was?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're doing a little bit of PR speak here now. I think that the discourse around Sony's live service model has been so loud recently that it makes sense why they're coming out and saying something. I think this is really just to kind of save face. I mean, I don't really think it's doing it for people in the know. I mean, I think we still have the same ideas behind the same broken concepts. But I would imagine that this is a very high level, chill investors type move, if I had to guess. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't really think they've learned. Dave and I have kind of talked about this. Was it maybe even last week? We've kind of talked ad nauseum, to be honest with you, about how Sony's kind of failed in this aspect. It's kind of interesting when you have someone of this stature come out and kind of address it directly. But I don't think it's anything more than just trying to soften the blow, I guess. But in reality, I don't think a lot's probably changed behind the scenes. I think this is just we're okay, sort of thing. And I don't really know that they are. So
yeah, Dave, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, I did pick out this story to talk about because you're right, Brandon. We have talked about this very subject quite a few times, and I think the difference here is we're actually getting some information from I wrote a pun for this. Hang on. It's nice to finally have something from the Hulst's mouth. So instead of horse, I did Hulst.
Okay.
Is that a pun or is that just changing a word in a sentence?
I don't know. I probably shouldn't have explained that I was telling a joke before I told the joke, but I did anyways. But this is the first time we've had somebody high up from Sony kind of give us some insight into, where they think they've gone and where they think they're going from a games as a service perspective. So, but going back a little bit, two questions kind of came to my mind, and you guys don't need to answer this, but it's something I'm genuinely curious about from a hindsight perspective. So if Concord had launched free to play, do you think its servers would still be live today? Conversely, and this is the weirder one, if Concord was a full price game, do you think its servers would still be alive today? Because I think the price was a big factor in the failure of Concord. And it's easy to say that the other big hitters in this subgenre are all free to play, so you have to go free to play in order to compete. But at the same time, I do think there's a perceived value thing when you choose to either make your game not free to play or not full price, where it's like I'm getting something that's sort of a discount experience. So maybe if it was full price or closer to full price, that people kind of look at it as in more of a high quality light. Sony makes more money off each copy it's sold, and then maybe it's a different situation. Both speculation, but I do think there's some pretty interesting things that Hermen said here. One, he talks about failing cheaply, which to me means he wanted to fail fast, and that sounds like a cutthroat strategy, but from a business perspective, it's a really smart way to go about things. It really sucks what happens to the people that work at these studios, but when you're trying new risky things like Sony is, this is unfortunately just how it probably has to be done. The other thing that he mentions in the article is tighter, I think he said tighter oversight, which it sort of suggests that in Hermen's mind and Sony's mind, they think that one of the reasons that Concord fail is maybe poor management. And the interesting thing about Concord is, I think we've come to terms that it failed because one, the price, and two, it just didn't have a hook. Like there wasn't anything interesting about it. It just kind of seemed to be like a trend chasing. It was another hero shooter. And, from a personality perspective, there was just nothing there. So if you then decide that, the creativity needs to be managed more closely by people at the Sony level, those are kind of contradictory things. So I really wonder, if we're ever going to hear a similar statement from Hermen about Fair Game $, which hasn't been officially canceled yet, but it's pretty heavily rumored. So I think there is some pretty interesting breadcrumbs here into where Sony is going. I'm still not entirely confident about the future of Sony in this arena, but I do think it was good to finally hear from him on this.
Yeah, from the Hulst's mouth.
Straight from the Hulst's
mouth. Oh, like
Straight
the horse's mouth.
Good. Yeah,
and that was so clever.
Thank you. I came up with it all by myself. Derek O says Fair Games was doomed as soon as they dropped the $ in the name. I think it was a little before that, but I would agree that didn't help anything. Dave, I understand your point about would the game still be around if it was free to play? And my answer is it'd have a better chance, but probably not. But I don't understand your question about would it have still been around if it was full priced? What does that mean?
That means...
I mean, I know what the question means. Why do you ask that?
Perceived value.
Okay.
I think for me, and I'm speaking anecdotally, and I'm speaking from my personal opinion, but when I see something that on day one, it's cheaper than what I normally expect to pay for a game, and free to play is a different thing. But $40 to me is, I think I'm getting a budget experience. So I'm going to wait for it to go free to play because, it's starting at $40. It's only going to go down from there. Whereas if I buy something full price, there's a bit more of a commitment to get value out of that. So it's really just kind of what I assume is kind of a consumer mindset. And yeah. It's probably more likely that it would have been more successful at free to play, but I think there's a case to be made for it. Could have been successful as a full price game as well. I know it's wild, but
yeah, I mean,
that's just kind of what I was thinking there.
I guess I just look at other comparisons around it, like other games that have been $40, which, like Helldivers, for instance. It's like maybe that game would have been even more successful, but I don't think. Obviously, that game wasn't hurt by the fact that it was not a full price game. Maybe we'll never know, but maybe it could have been helped by being a full price game, but it's hard to say for sure. I don't know. I think what they sell about 25,000 copies of Concord or something like that. And then they refunded them all, obviously. That's real tough to think that. I mean, if you said like, oh, we had 250,000 players at $40, then I'm like, okay, well, maybe being free to play would have got you 1 million at launch or something like that. Maybe more, probably more. But if the game wasn't appealing enough to spend $40 on it, Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, it's an experiment we can never conduct, but would
Yeah.
that game have been more profitable, or more, not more profitable, but more successful at a higher price point? And it seems like people just weren't even willing to take the chance on it at $40. Even like, oh, maybe this will be good for 5 hours with my buddies kind of thing.
Right.
I really doubt they would have at 70 either. But
I
again,
think that
experiment we can never know.
I think that Concord would have died slower if it was a free to play game. I think it still would have died because of all the aforementioned reasons that Dave is saying, the uninspiring look and play and the trend hopping. But I think it would have had a little bit more of a chance. I really do.
Yeah.
It was kind of bleeding from the start though. And
Right.
you know, I think the free to play would have tourniqueted it for a while, but
You know what my favorite part about Concord was? When they announced the closure, and I think it was like a week notice, maybe 4 days, 5 days, and the platinum community just went crazy because they're all like, we have to get this platinum, because
Yeah.
the way platinum morons work is the second I unlock one trophy, I have something more than 0% in this in my little trophy list, I must get 100. And they all like went crazy trying to get the platinum in like 4 or 5 days. It was amazing, and there's some really good content online for that. But yeah,
One of the most interesting things is, I don't remember how it worked, but like people were taking turns at the beginning of every match, just jumping off the side so the other team could get their win, and then they would take that turn. Like
it was the quickest way to farm.
Yeah, it was like this unspoken, like, we all know what's going on here, let's do this kind of thing. Which I think Raddick got the platinum for that. That game.
Derek in chat just called that out.
Oh yeah, yep, he did. Jumping off the edge of the map for 4 days straight. That's dedication right there. That's a level of boredom I will never know. All right, next story. Xbox has introduced personalized ads with a new opt-in system. This comes from Pure Xbox, and it says, excuse me, dashboard ads have long been a bit of an issue with the Xbox community. It seems as though they're a common complaint amongst users whenever the topic of dashboard redesign comes up. While ads are unlikely to be going away anytime soon, Microsoft is adding a new option that may make them at least a bit more palatable. As shared by The Verge's Tom Warren, some users are starting to see new options pop up, giving them a choice between standard dashboard ads and personalized dashboard ads. If users opt into a personalized option, they should see tailored ads based on gaming data, with games and DLC just for you showing up on the dashboard rather than generic adverts. In theory, this is a nice option and will possibly prevent things like irrelevant ads popping up on dashboards, as has been the case in the past. However, we've seen lots of ad-related complaints be more focused on just the general existence of them, excuse me, rather than the actual content they're displaying on the dashboard. Warren says this new feature is rolling out to users now, and we're assuming the Xbox insiders will be the first to be able to test it. What do you guys think about ads in general in your video game content? Both PlayStation and Xbox have this. Nintendo doesn't really have it unless you go into the store. Steam has it, but I've never heard anyone complain about it. Like, ads are on almost every page that isn't a dedicated game page. Brandon, what do you think about it? And has an ad on your console or on your platform ever encouraged you to check something out that you wouldn't have otherwise?
yeah, I mean, I feel like this article kind of hits the nail on the head. I think mostly people's problems with ads is not that they're not personalized, it's that they're present altogether. I guess this is nice, and maybe some people will find some use for this sort of thing. And I think it's better suited for somebody who isn't like actively pursuing what's new in games. Maybe people will get a benefit out of this by getting ads that are personalized. But yeah, I mean, my quarrel with the entire thing is just that, is the presence of ad altogether. You pay all this money for these consoles. You, on Xbox and on PlayStation, pay money to play them online, pay money to access Game Pass, and then you are shoveled ads down your throat on the dashboard that you have no option to opt out of. That's really my problem. I have never personally bought anything from an ad I've seen.
At all, or just on platforms?
Not from platforms, because it's kind of like in the ecosystem that I frequently am up to date in. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think this will probably benefit people that aren't like us. But even still, I mean, I think even better yet would be to just get rid of them. But I would imagine they see a decent return. I'd imagine a lot of people click on these sort of things. So I don't know that we're really the demographic that they're trying to target the most, but
Right. Dave, what about you?
I live near a highway, and it's a pretty big highway. It's very busy. And if I try, I can tune my ear to just like understand how loud that highway really is. But because I've lived here long enough, I don't notice it unless I try to notice it. And I think that's kind of where I'm at with ads in general. And you know, when I started to read this article, I thought about the way I tune out ads on websites or on apps, or when I'm watching sports even. And I just kind of like, even the worst websites, I've just kind of tuned my brain to just kind of like close any pop-ups I see or any of the sidebar. I think the worst offender is videos that auto play. It, like, those drive me crazy. But for the most part, the rest of it, I've just kind of learned to tune it out. And I do kind of wonder how this is such a valuable, like, ad space is so valuable still. But I do kind of think about video games, and haven't seen a whole lot of it. You know, I don't really notice it too much on the PlayStation ecosystem. Um, Steam is Steam, and Nintendo, as you mentioned, Ben, it's really kind of on the eShop, and that's it.
And when
I
you
do
first
no-
log into the system, I guess.
Yeah, and I do notice it a little bit more on Xbox, and it is, to me, somewhat disruptive. But I think about the way personalized ads work on the internet, and like, I replaced a toilet in my house a couple of weeks ago, but the internet still thinks that all I want is toilets all day every day. The thing about like the PlayStation Store as an example, I know this is Xbox, but most of my time is on PlayStation. I spend a lot of time browsing the PlayStation Store, and the number of times I've had like Midnight Suns page open and like I'm ready to put it in my cart and I just don't, or like Far Cry 5 when it's on a deep discount. If PlayStation starts to notice that and starts to like personalize the ads I see based on that, I'm fucked, because I'm very impulsive, but I rarely pull the trigger. So if that's what we're going to look to, then I think the conversion rate on Dave Lambden is going to be pretty high. So yeah, I don't know. I'm okay with this, because I'd rather see something that is relevant to me based on my activity on Xbox or PlayStation, wherever it happens to be, than just the algorithm trying to guess based on other things. So yeah, I'm okay with this. It's kind of the world we live in now, but yeah, I think the conversion rate for me would be pretty high, because
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that whatever Steam has going on, and granted, most of my playtime is on Steam at this point. I work on Steam. Like, to be clear, I don't work for Valve. I work, like, a lot of my work is on Steam. The fact that they could just play stuff where they want, and they know like what I play, and they pair things up with it really well. Steam advertisements are very, very they work well on me. But oftentimes I see like ads for Steam games on social media or whatever, and for whatever reason, I'm way more likely to buy them, or at least to wish list them at the very least, than I am on any other platform or anything. Now, in fairness, like, I can't remember the last time I turned on my Xbox, my PlayStation, I play like exclusives on. So like, yeah, in fairness, I am partial to Steam in general. So of course I'm going to be more likely to succumb to their advertising network, but they've just figured out a way to do it in such a non-obtrusive way that also is still effective, that it works. But I find ads on the way they do ads on consoles, I don't really like. And I don't know how to give feedback on that other than to say, like, I'm not interested. Like, in fairness, if I go onto my PlayStation, it's usually to play a specific game. So I don't want to see ads for anything else, because I'm not there to buy anything else. I play games on PlayStation that I want to play on PlayStation. So I'm probably obviously not the target audience for this, because unless it's something I've seen a million times, I'm not going to buy it, most likely, because I'm not there to play that game. But I will say that there are several games I've seen on like social media, on Twitter, just advertised over and over that eventually I'll click on it and wishlist it, and maybe I end up buying it because I've seen so much about it. So those ads tend to be like off-platform ads are way more effective in my buying patterns than they are for on-platform.
What's that stat you like to use, Ben? Is on average you need to see something at least 7 times before you, is it buy it or interact with it?
Buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like an awareness thing. And I don't remember ever having used that, so props to you for remembering that I said it, apparently. But that's, I forget what it's called, but like on average, people need to interact with something 7 times before they, or not interact with it, but like be made aware of it 7 times before they buy it. And that's not just for video games or digital goods, that's for all sorts of stuff that's not essential. And even for essential things, it's the brand maybe that you buy. So there's definitely some benefit to seeing things over and over and over, but there comes a point when I'm just like, I don't want to see this anymore. Especially with things that I already don't want, and then I see it so many times, I not only don't want it, I hate it. Yeah. Anything else, boys, on ads? Remember when there was talk about like, I forget what game, maybe it was an NBA game, or maybe they actually did this, where they would put ads in the game for products that weren't related to other games, like, I don't know, advertising cornflakes on the sideboards on a basketball game in NBA 2K or something.
Yeah, that's still a thing. There was like
Is
that
that a
whole
thing?
State Farm section in the NBA 2K games where
The
you could,
State
like,
Farm guy was in it, right?
Yeah.
where you could like go talk to Jake. It's ridiculous, man.
Nice.
We live in hell.
Let's move on. This one's a little surprising to me. The headline here is Sony Interactive has sold its stake in Evo. This comes from evo.gg, and it says multi-year partnerships with Quidia and Sony Interactive Entertainment and new ownership of Evo by Nodwin Gaming alongside existing shareholder RTS will fuel the global growth of events, content, and experiences. The long story short here is SIE has sold its stake in Evo to Nodwin Gaming, a company backed by SIE's parent, Sony Group Corporation. SIE will become a new global sponsor of Evo through 2028 and will continue its commitment to the fighting game community through the PlayStation Tournaments platform and key products currently in development that appeal to fighting game players. SIE acquired Evo alongside RTS in 2021, and Nodwin is taking over their stake now. It's interesting that Sony obviously owns SIE. Sony owns Nodwin, or at least is backed by them. And Nodwin is backed by SIE. No, Sony Group. So they still have like the stake in it, but just under a different umbrella. And I'm curious what you guys make of this and if it's going to have any noticeable impact at all. Dave, we'll start with you. Oh, Brandon, you had something to say. Go ahead.
No, yeah. I'm kind of hoping this means Nintendo's gonna come back. We kind of speculated that maybe they didn't have a presence or requested not to have a presence, and maybe someone else has some more insight as to why Smash wasn't at the most recent one. I don't know how long it's been omitted, and I know there hasn't
Couple
been
years.
I know there hasn't been a new iteration of a Smash game, but not even some of the old ones even participating. I wonder if this is Sony's continued push to kind of recoup some money, moving forward with some of its failures, piggybacking off of what we spoke about earlier. They seem to be tightening the collar up a bit, and I wonder if this is kind of just a part of that overall tightening of finances. So, yeah, I mean, this is cool, I guess. My only hope for it, I guess, is that maybe we will see Smash in the future. Not that that's maybe even the reason that it was omitted, period, but it was kind of something we were speculating. I don't know if anybody knows any more about it, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Maybe they just had their run with it and it's over, but like you said, it's still like adjacent, right?
Yeah.
But
Dave, any comments here?
I don't know much about esports in general. I do kind of wonder though where it is, and this is probably a question for Brandon or Ben, if you're kind of in tune with this stuff. Where do you guys think esports is in its pop culture trajectory? Like, is it kind of, has it peaked yet? Is it just scratching the surface? Do you think it's kind of, I remember watching like on G4, like the Halo tournaments and stuff. And I felt like that was kind of the golden age, but I'm so disconnected now. But then I look at like the brand power behind some of the sponsors in this Evo tournament. And this is just fighting games. Like it doesn't include like Call of Duty or, you know, some of the other heavy hitters when it comes to esports. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Is this a fad or is it here to stay?
I don't think it's a fad. I think there's been a bigger push towards the individual creation instead of the group creation. I think that's kind of the way the internet has went. Instead of it kind of branching out into like corporate entities or like big standing conglomerates, it's kind of went the more personal way with like Twitch streaming and YouTube content. But I still think there's a lot of room for growth. I mean, you have things like Valorant, you have things like CS:GO, CS2, whatever. All of these things still have many, many, many $1 million tournaments. Like there's millions and millions and millions of dollars that are spent, you know, Dota, League of Legends, all that. So it's still big and I think it has room to grow, but I think the entire ethos of video games kind of has not sidestepped it a little bit, but I think the growth of personal content has kind of outgrown the esports. And not to say that they can't grow together, but I think that's kind of the way it's went.
You know, when it hit me was I work at a college, and when colleges, not just the one I work at, but several started esports management programs, like 2-year programs you could pay a lot of money for. Yeah. That's when I was like, whoa, this is not a 30-minute hit on G4 anymore. This is a significant sort of thing. But yeah.
It's funny, Dave, I was thinking of that exact example. I used to work at a college, but I'm still very plugged into the higher ed world. And I was thinking, like, is it too late once colleges catch on to stuff like this? Because it takes time to develop programs and acquire the correct instructors and set up a course and, you know, whatever. Are you already too late by the time a college has caught on to the fact that they should be offering a course for something that's already existing? I don't know. But I'm not terribly tuned into the fighting game world, in fairness. But I am pretty tuned into like esports in general, not fighting game specific, but, you know, shooting, Counter-Strike, World of Warzone, all that kind of stuff. And it doesn't seem to be dying down any. If anything, it's growing larger and more brands are catching on, especially when hardware comes into play. But I would agree with Brandon that it definitely seems more like, used to it was like, I'm really following this or that team. And now it's much more like, I'm a big fan of this player who happens to be on that team. Seems to be more of a trend to me. But I don't know. None of us are really like I enjoy esports. Brandon's a little more into it than me. But none of us are like diehard fans of any specific team or sport necessarily, other than just, you know, casually watching. The Esports World Cup, as Edward mentioned, is pretty big and like pretty well known and watched and followed. But even it is like a little bit out of my purview because it's just not the world I live in as much. And that's interesting because I love competitive sports in general and I love video games, but it just, I don't know, it evades me. I also can't. I like fighting games very casually. I love, you know, beating the crap out of my kids. I like watching watching Brandon beat the crap out of my kids in Smash Brothers. I like those games, but I just don't care about the competitive side of them at all for whatever reason. Whereas with shooting games, I do more so. Anyway, we belabored that point to death, I suppose. No Man's Sky has added huge customizable ships in one of its biggest updates yet. They've added a lot of stuff here, actually. This is from Polygon. It says No Man's Sky isn't done evolving. Hello Games updated its survival game on Wednesday with the Voyagers update, which brings large customizable ships to No Man's Sky, inviting players to decorate their ships with their friends while traveling at warp speeds. Quote, we call them corvettes, huge ships with hulls, wings, landing gear, cockpits, engine parts, thrusters, and more, arranged to your own unique sci-fi design. Hello Games co-founder Sean Murray said in a news release announcing the update. He touts them as having real interiors that include sleeping quarters and med bays along with other customizable sections. The Corvette ships come a little way into the game. Players who have been with No Man's Sky for some time will have no problem unlocking their homes among the stars. Newer players can get a taste of the update via a Corvette expedition, specifically designed to get you into the workshop as quickly as possible and take you on a journey which unlocks some of the parts you're going to need. In addition to the Corvette-class starships, the 6.0 patch brings with it a number of bug fixes, quality of life additions, and optimization improvements. It also brings the Skyborn exosuit and Skyborn jetpack cosmetics, as well as new Twitch drops. Boys, No Man's Sky, I played No Man's Sky for a little while, about maybe 2 or 3 years ago on Game Pass, like dozens and dozens of hours of it, and have said for a long time, I cannot go back and play No Man's Sky or it will consume me. And in the past like 3 weeks, I've been thinking a lot about No Man's Sky, and I was also thinking about Star Citizen, and like looking at Star Citizen and thinking, do I want to buy this? You know, do I want to like? I think what they've done is not my favorite practice in video games, but do I want to support that? No, but I really want to play the game and everything. And so today, when I saw this announcement, I bought No Man's Sky on Steam because I had only played it on Game Pass previously. So now I have purchased it, and I will be going back in. I'll have to start from zero because all my other progress, I think, probably doesn't carry over from Game Pass. But that's okay because I probably need a refresher. So goodbye, every other video game for a while, probably. Maybe not, probably. But I will be jumping in at some point. Brandon, you played a lot of No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
I want to know what you think about the update and what you think about the game's status in general.
Yeah, I mean, really the gift that keeps on giving. I don't understand. They're clearly making money and seeing good player count because
I mean, I just bought the game today, right?
I know, exactly. And they just keep giving. It's crazy.
The gift that keeps on giving, the one you didn't appreciate when you got it for Christmas back in 1998.
Exactly. It truly is an anomaly. Like, it doesn't make sense. But Ben, I just wishlist this game today.
It's on sale right now.
I know. I should just buy it. This is cool, man. I'm glad to see that, you know, something interesting like ship customization and the ability to be in the ship with your friends is being added. I feel like that was a huge part of the game that was kind of missing. The last time I played, so I played a lot at launch, even in its state, but I went back maybe a year or two ago. I don't remember. After some of the really big updates and kind of played it again and felt like I got my time with it. But honestly, Ben, I'm kind of with you there. I'm kind of ready to go back in. There's been multiple sizable updates since I've played last to begin with. It seems like one of the games you could just hop back in every couple years and there's going to be new shit, at least for the time being. That's the way it's been. So, yeah, I mean, at the price tag, it's like $23 or something like that on Steam right now. But yeah, I'm just in disbelief that this game is still giving. I don't understand. I don't know if Sean got into some sort of pact with the devil to make the game successful after its failure, where he can never stop working on the game or something. But
I mean, I really think what it is, Brandon, is if he wants to continue making games after No Man's Sky came out originally, no one's ever buying a different game from that person if he doesn't do anything else to the game.
Yeah, but it's almost a meme for how much he's given now. Like,
correct. Yes.
It literally is like he is like the saint of giving now. Which I guess, you know, obviously the more goodwill the better, right? But I'm
going to have very little hesitation about buying their next game at launch, right?
I see. Even after all the goodwill, I'm still a little hurt.
Yeah,
I'm still a little hurt. But yeah, I want to jump back in as well. I would love. I don't think I've ever played it multiplayer.
Oh, really? I've only ever played it I mean, I played on my own too, but I played with other people. Now you can do the whole sharing a ship thing, I guess. So, Dave, what's your experience and whatnot with No Man's Sky?
First of all, Ben, I think you're a rare case. I think most gamers are idiots, including the other two on the 66.666% of the show is an idiot, and we have really bad memories. So, I think people like you would probably wait for reviews of the next game, but generally speaking, we have dumb memories. But it can't downplay the effort that Hello Games has put into the revival of this game, and we are less than a year away from the 10-year anniversary of this game coming out, April 2016. And 10 years on, it's still being supported with like really good content updates, not just maintenance stuff, but like this is not a small update. This is big stuff. And the crazy thing is they probably have most of their team working on the next game. So for them to be putting out this kind of content while also having their nose downs on Light No Fire is it's pretty interesting. So kudos to them. I've played a little bit of No Man's Sky. I played it on Game Pass. So again, going back to the Concord thing, whenever I don't pay for something, I feel less compelled to put time into it. But I need to jump in. It's only 32 Canadian dollars on PSN, and knowing what they've put into that game over the past 9 years, it's probably more than well worth it. But I'm with you, Ben. Like I'm concerned about. I still have resolutions to finish up. I can't. This is a risk to that, and I have some pretty bad punishments coming my way if I screw up. So I got to be careful. But I don't know. Kudos to Hello Games and kudos to Sean Murray because they've done a hell of a job with No Man's Sky.
Brandon, I remember back in like 2016, 2017, when this game came out, and I remember Dustin being frustrated with you because you guys were doing a different podcast at the time, and every week you were just talking about No Man's Sky, and he's like, the game sucks. And you just kept playing
I just kept playing it. That's the funny part is I think I sunk so much time into the shitty version of it that it changes a man. It changes a man, truly.
Yeah.
I got to give it another chance. We got to play, though, Ben. I really want to try the multiplayer.
That's it. Cool. That's it for the news. Let's talk about what we've been playing. Dave.
Hey.
You go first.
Put some more time into Sleeping Dogs, making progress. I've realized there's a decent amount of side content that I need to complete that is really hard. There's a fight club that's like a whole different, like it takes place in a secret area, and it's really difficult to a point where I got like I'm pretty well like kitted out at this point skill wise, and I still got an alert saying you need to level your skills up more before you take on this fighting tournament. So that was a little scary. I did try it quickly and I got my ass kicked. There's some races too that are just like crazy. So I've got a ways to go with Sleeping Dogs, not like quantity wise, but more just like it's the stuff that's left is pretty tricky. But still having a great time with it. I played a little bit of Diablo Immortals, but this is going to go in a slightly different direction. I played Diablo Immortal when it first came out. It's fine. It's Diablo on mobile. It's NetEase. I think they did a good job of putting this game on phones. But the reason I got this is because I was talking in the chat earlier this week in Discord about Backbones, because Destiny Rising comes out tomorrow, and I'm really interested in this. I've always enjoyed Destiny, but I stepped away from it for a long time, and the game has just become pretty overwhelming to enter as a new or returning player. So I'm kind of seeing Destiny Rising as maybe a fresh start for me. And so I was kind of testing out Diablo Immortal with my DualSense, because I've never actually used it on my phone, just to kind of see, compare that to just playing with touchscreen controls. And I do really think I need something like a Backbone, because while I enjoyed playing on my DualSense, I found having my phone like on a stand in front of me here was just too far. So I really think I need to kind of have it in front of my face like this. So yeah, that's why I was playing Diablo Immortal a little bit. But something happened at the beginning of the show. My internet was getting really weird because we still have dial-up here in Canada. But I realized the reason why it happened is because Destiny Rising just started to install itself on my phone.
I was going to say it's out now, isn't it?
Yeah, so I guess I thought it was tomorrow, but I guess it's kind of like a rolling release. So I might be trying that out after the show. But
Nice.
yeah, and maybe I'll talk about that next week.
I don't know. I don't know that I can bring myself to buy a mobile, like a phone controller, like a Backbone or something like that. But I'm always enticed by games on the phone. I'm always like, oh, I can play this anytime. I don't even know why I have a phone. Most of my conversations and everything happen on Discord or Slack or whatever. The most I use my phone is to like, my wife texts me and says dinner's ready. So I just should put away the idea of ever actually sinking time into a game on the phone. But yeah, let me know how it is. I probably shouldn't get sucked back into Destiny,
Don't
even
do
if
it,
it's the
Ben.
mobile version. I can't do it.
Don't do it, Ben.
But I do think it's cool that they're doing it in general.
It sounds like it's going to be like a Destiny gotcha, which is fine. That's what makes money. But if it feels like Destiny on the phone, I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah. It's so interesting. Like, it's Destiny on the phone, but all that means is it's slightly underpowered at this point. Like everybody's playing games on the phone. There's controllers for the phone. Like, it's a different model, but it's not necessarily a worse game than some games you can play on computer.
I hope it runs on my BlackBerry, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. The keyboard might get in the way. Brandon, what about you?
So I completed Mafia 3. That was good. I was kind of ready to be done with it. Funny enough, I completed it on stream, and I went through essentially the collectathon for that game. I collected all the Playboys. I collected all the like pinup girls. I collected all the Repent magazines, all the Hot Rod magazines. I 100%ed all the collectibles, right? And it gave me nothing. Literally nothing. Not even a Steam achievement. So I was a little bit salty about that. I'm gonna be honest. It's fine, but it's also not fine.
Yeah.
I spend way more time than I needed to doing that. So,
But did you have fun doing it?
at first,
Oh,
it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
yeah.
But then by the end, I'm like, Jesus Christ! Like, after I think I put almost 30 hours or close to 30 hours into the game or something like that. Which is like double the other two games. I could have added Mafia 1 and 2 together, and that's how much time I spent on 3. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was good. It was good. I like the ending. I think the story of Mafia 3 is great. I feel like it is slightly underrated. I enjoyed it quite a bit. But I was going to finish the ending. There's essentially 3 endings. I got the canon ending, or like the good ending. And then after you do that, it lets you reload the save and do the other 2 endings that lock you into those. So I guess you can only do 2. But my game crashed. My PC actually blue screened in the middle of the one of the bad endings, and so I just decided that was the way it was going to end. And so I uninstalled the game and didn't get to see the other ending because I was actually pretty salty. I was in the middle of streaming, so I don't know what happens, but that's okay. I got the good ending. But yeah, I was kind of frustrated between the achievement thing, or the collectathon, and that I was kind of like a little bit perturbed at the ending of Mafia 3, but the game was good. It's fine. I was happy to be done with it. But I started Mafia Old Country, which was kind of the reason for me starting this whole journey off again altogether. I have probably like 5 or 6 hours into it, something like that. I really like this game quite a bit. I think that visually it looks really good. It's an Unreal Engine 5 game. I think that it plays okay. And the story is really great. I think the story is fantastic. But I have a huge problem with this game, other than those things that I like about it. And that's that it runs really, really, really bad. In fact, if I hadn't played all the other games and I would have just started at this one, I probably would have refunded it. I'm playing. Well, let's start here. I've resorted to switching everything to low and putting my DLSS on performance. So the game looks bad now. the only time that it's ever stable is when you're in like a small fight. But anytime you're traveling, like I was doing a race and I literally could not complete the race because, and it was locked 60, mind you. I was trying to just get 60. I wasn't trying to get 80, 90, 100. It would drop to sometimes single digits or in the 20s consistently. Like I could not finish the race. So I had to turn everything down so I could actually hope to recoup. Like it's almost breaking at points when you're moving around. Now, when you're in a spot, it's fine. But anytime you have to drive somewhere, it almost slideshows, like with no exaggeration. And like I said, I turned everything to low now. And that's the only way. And it still stutters. Bad.
Yeah.
But at least it's not 4 frames or 10 frames that it just drops literally in an instant. So,
yeah.
Yeah, really, really genuinely disappointing. And also pretty buggy, to be honest with you. One of my guys was like stuck on his horse, and it would not progress the mission. And so I had to like get on my horse and try and like jam him around his horse, and then he ended up getting on it. And another mission, this lady just didn't spawn at all. It's like follow this lady, and the icon for her was like underneath the map. And so I reloaded the checkpoint, and oh, lo and behold, here she is. And so like just shit like that, where like not only does it run honestly really bad, and I know I can be kind of dramatic about the performance of things, like I don't have the most high-end card, but this is like very, very, very upsetting.
You have a competent enough card to play this game, though.
And that's what I'm saying is I like the game a lot. It has a lot of stealth aspects. The knife fights remind me a lot of Ghost of Tsushima in a way, to where you like get up to a person in the story and then you battle it out with them one-on-one. Like it kind of has those feels to it. And the story is great. The voice acting is great. I think it's a great story, but it's just so marred by these other things. So I'm gonna finish it because I did pay good money for it, and I am on this journey and have completed the rest of them. But I'm very disappointed in that aspect. So, oh well.
Yeah,
it is what it is. I thought I was going crazy too. I thought it was just like a setting or something. And there's people with like 5090s that are talking about like struggling to get 60 and stuff like that consistently. So, yeah, last and certainly not least, I started playing GTA RP.
Yeah.
So that is like that is one of the wildest things that I've ever experienced PC gaming.
I tried to get in for a little bit, but
dude, it's kind of like VR chat in the sense that it's like the Wild West, to where like just there's no polish whatsoever. Like anything goes really.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, it kind of was like a buggy and unoptimized mess. I don't know how people make careers out of this shit. Maybe it's just because I didn't join these certain ones Discord servers that have really good servers. Like there's an entire politics around all of it. Like a lot of the good servers, you have to like literally apply. Like I applied to one because I was so frustrated with getting into shitty servers, and they denied my application. So I instantly left the Discord. So like I don't know that I'm going to do it anymore, but I did fuck around a little bit, and I probably will continue to fuck around. The 5M client, which is what a lot of people use, seems to be really fickle. Let's say that. My computer was bogging down quite a bit, and the application was crashing quite a bit. I know it's kind of doing like some back-end launcher of the Rockstar launcher, and it's going off the legacy build instead of the enhanced version. But yeah, it was okay. It was kind of an interesting experience. And I hadn't been in the GTA world in a long time, so.
Yeah, my problem. So I tried for a little while to play, maybe about 1.5 years or 2 years ago, and I liked what I played for a little while. And I like had a friend who was in a pretty decent sized server, and he got me waitlisted and everything, and that was great. But my problem was just like there wasn't enough going on at any given point in that server to feel like I could be active.
Right.
Like, and there weren't a ton of NPCs or anything. So for so much of the time, I was just like looking around for people. But that might have just been that I wasn't an active enough server.
Well, I mean, truthfully, that's been my experience too, and I think it really does depend on where you go. And I think a lot of the good servers are, exclusive, and
Yeah.
have a lot of barriers to entry. But I had that experience as well. Like, no matter what I did to my graphics, a lot of my graphics wouldn't load in. So I was like driving on roads that were I could see through the map,
Yeah.
and the roads were empty. There was hardly any pedestrians, and I was lucky if I found a real person and they didn't beat the shit out of me,
Yeah.
or just shoot me on sight. I met a
Right.
couple kind of cool people that would like talk to me and kind of explain what was going on. But people like legitimately live lives in these games.
Yep. Yep.
I kind of the reason I was interested in this in the first place is I was watching YouTube content on GTRP, specifically troll shit, like people that do mod menus and stuff. And I don't have really much interest in that. I mean, although I think it would be funny, I'm kind of too stupid to figure that out because I was almost too stupid to figure out how to get 5M.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of
Well,
interesting. I made like 100 pills to go sell them in this world. I had to like spend 45 minutes like gathering this material, gathering these pill bottles, gathering these pill capsules, and then putting them all in a thing. And I got 100 pills because I asked the guy who showed me how to do it. It's like, hey, like how many's a good amount to have? So I go to the pier to try and he's like, you got to go to the pier and type /dealer, and then people come to you. And no matter what I did, nothing happened. And so
Yeah.
I just started walking around for a while, and I eventually died and lost all of my pills. And so
Yeah.
I was like, all right, then fuck me. I just walked around for the rest of the time and like, whatever. So
I don't remember who it
cool.
was. I'll have to ask him. When I was at Lockmort's house in Belgium one night late, he was like, we got to watch some YouTube." I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." So he pulled it up, and we were just like scrolling through some stuff, and then he's like, "Oh, this is one of my favorite YouTubers," and he pulled it up, and it was the only thing it was Red Dead 2 Online RP, and the guy was just trolling the entire time.
Yeah. It's
And it was
probably one
one
of
of-
the couple guys I've watched. They're
Yeah.
awesome, man.
This is one of the most, like, at one point he was crawling around the ground, like trying to convince people he wasn't crawling around the ground, and like the way that some of these people took things so incredibly seriously. And I mean, I respect it because like in RP you're supposed to take things seriously and
Right.
everything, but
It's still
it was
a
a lot of
game.
fun. Yeah,
It's still a
But
game,
it
and
is
that's the
still a
funniest
game.
part
Yeah.
when people like actually are like weeping.
Yeah,
It's like just Alt F4. You know what I mean? Like if you're
yeah. Anything else?
that's it.
All right. Well, the only game I played at Gamescom that wasn't one of the games I took, and I'd played them all before, but was down the hall from me, and by down the hall I mean like a quarter mile away. Was Super Meat Boy 3D, and your boy had to go check
hell
that
yeah.
out. I got to play for 10 minutes, and like part of it was they wanted you to like compete in a speed run. I don't have a lot to say about this because I didn't really spend a ton of time with it, but I did want to say if you are a fan of Super Meat Boy, it is very, very, and it's being made by a different, developer and everything. But it's very, very true to form. It's very brutal. It's very Super Meat Boy. Has all the things you would want from a Super Meat Boy game. It's just in 3D, which adds obviously literally an entirely new dimension to the game, but also just makes the game totally different. So your Super Meat Boy, you start out on these very basic levels, run through, but with the difference of having the depth to the gameplay. And of course, you're just trying to run through the levels and avoid saw blades and spikes and everything, and get to the end to, eventually, hopefully, defeat Dr. Fetus. So I don't, as I mentioned, I don't have a ton to say about it. I sound weird now that I coughed. I don't have a ton to say about it, but I was already planning on buying it, day one. Now I'm definitely, let's just be honest. I was going to buy that game day one, regardless of if it was good or not, but just because I love Super Meat Boy. One of the very first podcasts about video games I ever remember doing was talking about the announcement of Super Meat Boy back before it came out on Xbox or anything. So very much love that series, and I can tell you that like part of the thing they were doing was a speed run, and like if you beat a certain record on the speed run, you got to enter in for a drawing to win some, I think it was an Xbox or something, which I didn't want. But so a little bit of the joy was tainted for me because I was constantly looking at this speedrun record, like seeing how far behind it I was falling. so that was kind of annoying. But the gameplay seems really fun and really dynamic, and a lot of times when you have other developers make these games, like you lose a little bit of the spirit of the game. And Super Meat Boy, obviously, the original has a very distinct spirit to it. And this has, at least in the 10 minutes of it I played, totally captured it. So I'm pretty happy about that. Because love me some Meat Boy. And that's all we got. That's the only game I've played. I took my Steam Deck with me. I got it out of its case precisely 0 times. I was working a lot, but I also had like, a little bit of time at night, time on the train, time in the airplane. I didn't touch it at all. Fortunately, I think I'm well ahead of my resolution, like very far ahead of I've already completed my resolution. I just, whatever. But that wasn't the reason I took it. But wanted to play it more, and I just didn't play it at all. I spent like an hour downloading games and getting the configurations right for them before I left, and then didn't even take it out of the case. So, such is life. But that's the only game I've played in the last 2 weeks. And so I have nothing more to talk about. And that's it for the show then, everyone. Thanks again for joining us. Support us on Patreon at patreon.com/handsomefandom, or join us on the Discord at handsomefandom.com/Discord, or do both if you're feeling lucky. Boys, anything else to say, or should we call it a night?
That's it.
I love you. Thank you, Ben, for toughing it out.
Yes.
You're a legend.
You're welcome.
Legend.
I knew you needed my presence. Not for the show, just for your own well-being.
Precisely.
So I delivered. But yeah, thanks, guys. And we'll see you next time. Goodbye.